We have booted our Windows installation from the USB bootable disk drive, and this is the first screen that we are greeted with. The first step of the process is to input the language, local time and currency formats, as well as the keyboard or input method. It doesn't at this stage allow us to change the language from English United States, so we're going to leave that as it is, but we can change the time and currency format to our local region. There's a vast array of regions to choose from. And of course, in our case, we are going for English United Kingdom. The keyboard input method is correct, so we're now ready to move on. In the next stage of the process, we are greeted with the options of which particular version of Windows we want to install. And in our case, we are going for Windows 10 Enterprise Edition. So we click to select that and we're ready to move on. Next, we are greeted with the general license agreement for use of the software, and once we've read and are happy with that, we click to accept. In this screen, we see a list of the installed hard drives within the system. We have 2 drives installed. The first one you see there is the SSD, and the second one is the HDD. We are going to go ahead and install Windows onto the SSD drive. We are able to tell these drives apart by the sizes. The installation of Windows onto the SSD will be quicker. Once we're happy that we've selected the correct drive that we want to install Windows onto, we'll click Next. And at this point, Windows begins the installation onto the SSD. And it goes through a checklist of installation procedures that you can see there, with the progresses indicated by the percentage. On our SSD, this is likely to take a few moments, so we'll speed up and skip ahead to the next part of the process. Towards the end of the installation, Windows will restart the PC, and when it boots up for the second time, Windows will then boot from the SSD that we have installed it onto. So there the PC is rebooting. And now we are greeted by the initial steps for setting up Windows for the first time. Once again, we can select our region, United Kingdom in our case, so we click Yes. And then again, selecting the correct keyboard layout for our region. There is an option to add a second keyboard layout, though in our case that's not necessary, so we're going to skip that. Windows has already detected our active internet connection. This is because we are wired directly into the network via Ethernet cable. If you are connecting via Wi-Fi, this is where it would be useful to have the password on hand. Clicking Next initializes another short Windows setup procedure, after which the PC will automatically reboot once more, and then boot automatically from the SSD to load Windows again. The final phase of the installation is to set up our user account. Since this PC is for home personal use, I'll input my own name, Joe, and then click Next. It is advisable to set up a password, which will be needed to unlock Windows. Though this is not strictly necessary for home computers, we would always advise taking at least a basic level of security around personal computing. And at this point, Windows will present the option to set some answers to security questions. This is, of course, so that you're able to retrieve your account and log back into Windows if you ever forget your password. This is all very familiar to most of us, so we'll skip through that part. Windows 10 has a powerful feature called Cortana, which acts as a personal virtual assistant, assisting with all manner of computing activities. Windows 10 also has an integrated voice feature, enabling users to perform commands using the voice as well as text-to-speech. Though in my case, for my own use, this is unnecessary, so I'm going to disable that. I'm going to allow Microsoft to use my location, which will provide a more tailored and personal experience within the computing environment where location services are required. I'm going to enable the Find My Device feature, though this is primarily for use on laptops, for the obvious reason that laptops are portable. Though there isn't a performance hit for enabling this feature, it's good practice to enable this by default. regardless of the device that Windows is being installed onto. This option is to help Microsoft compile data for troubleshooting and technical advice, enabling them to patch out bugs and improve the Windows software based upon mass data gathered by all Microsoft Windows users. So we're going to enable that, but for myself only on the basic option, and for my own purposes I will not need the use of inking and typing recognition, so I'm going to click no and then move on. Yes to the diagnostic data, but no to the advertising option. Of course, all of these options are personal preference. It is worth spending time to read through those options so that you can tailor your Windows environment to your personal needs. And once all of that initial setup and personalization is complete, Windows will go through a small process again. And there we are, a fresh install of Windows, a clean desktop with default background. This machine is now ready for the installation of software, such as for security and protection, drivers for the hardware, and then all of the applications and software which will be used for work, such as video editing software or a digital audio workstation, and software for enjoyment and recreation, such as games and other software.